All right. Good morning, everybody, and morning and happy Monday. My name is Roger Barbieri. Today we're going to talk about mutualistic symbiotic leadership. And you're probably asking yourself, Raj, what the hell are you talking about? And I don't blame you for asking that question because it sounds like something that'd be more so out of like a sci-fi movie or something. And to be quite honest with you, it kind of is. Well, Raj, where did this come from? All right. First and foremost, mutualistic. Mutualistic is when you've got two different organisms that are working together and they both benefit in some way through the interaction. So today we're going to be talking about, obviously, the leader working with somebody that is within their team. The next piece, symbiotic. Now, symbiotic has a couple of different pieces to it. Symbiotic, number one, and we'll break this word down in just a second, but when you think of symbiotic relationships, you think of a couple of different types, one of which is a mutualistic relationship, is one in which the leader back in the day is when I think of. The leader back in the day would be the manager that sits there, balding, much like myself maybe, I don't know, maybe less hair, just a little wispy, would sit there at a desk with their button down, white shirt, short sleeves, red tie, smoking a cigarette with a cup of coffee, and telling you how often you can get up and go to the bathroom, when you get to go to lunch, so on and so forth. They take. That's a parasitic leader. It's not somebody who works with their team. It's somebody who expects the team to work for them. We're not focusing on parasitic leadership today. That's a whole other Dr. Phil within itself and something that we get into on another one. But personally, I prefer not to. I'd rather focus on how to stay positive, how to keep our teams in check in a way that they appreciate what we're doing, in a way in which we can both fulfill each other's needs. That is the mutualistic symbiotic piece of the leadership cycle. So let's talk about the word symbiotic before we get into the different pieces of today. Symbiotic, when it's broken down within itself, you have sym and then biotic. Biotic coming from the Greek biotikos, which means life. Let's start jotting some stuff down here real fast. We're going to go sym, biotic. All right. Now, sym, together, and with. This is the beginning of a truly good relationship between the leader and the folks that are on the team. Now we're going to break it down not just with the entire team, we're going to look at it more granularly. We're going to talk about how a leader interacts with their individual team member. So we're going to work together and with, right? Sym. Biotic, that's about life and all things pertaining to. All right, now together with. I've talked about this quite a bit in some of my other YouTubes, other lessons that we've taught. One of the things that I want to focus on with this is together with, this comes down to your return on relationship. And Tommy Spalding is somebody, the New York Times award-winning best-selling author. Tommy Spalding talks a lot about this. And if you're not familiar with who Tommy is, I would highly recommend looking up his books and jumping into some of those. He talks about being that super connector, and in order to do that, you have to build relationships, and how, in essence, return on relationship is better than any type of return on investment, because at the end of the day, you're investing in the relationship. So let's go back together with sym, a symbiotic leadership approach. We are working together, we are working with the individual that we are in essence responsible for, right? Okay. So in this, what we're doing is we're looking for the return on a relationship, and therefore we have to begin to dig in, ask more of those why kind of questions, and even more so, we set ourselves up for slight risk. Why do I say we set ourselves up for slight risk? When you're building a team, there has to be some level of vulnerability. There has to be a trust and a belief that's built between the leader and the individual or individuals. If that trust is not there, there will be no team and there will be no success. in any way, shape, or form. So you've got to work together and with. You've got to find the return on the relationship itself, which means digging into the why and sometimes approaching a little bit of risk. But risk is good. You've got to risk in order to be rewarded. You've got to have some type of investment in other people in order for them to want to give back to you as well. You've got to make a deposit before you can make a withdrawal, right? From one of the old cliches. Okay, so we talked about sin. Sin meaning together and with, return on relationship, but how that's risky because you've got to be a little vulnerable. But again, it's necessary in order to build a good, solid team. Life. Let's talk a little bit about the life and pertaining to life just a little bit. So let's go back to the cycle. All right. So one of the pieces here that I think is so important within this symbiotic leadership piece is that we're generating a life cycle together with our employees, with the people that we work with on our team as leaders, with the people that we are in essence responsible for. This cycle is one in which the leader is continuously filling and giving to the team member. And we'll just put member there. Now, as this continues to fill, the team member continues to become more and more successful. As this happens, the leader, their cup is filled. And I'm not talking necessarily from a budgetary standpoint, because again, I've talked about this in other podcasts and other sessions. It should never just be about a budget. Budgets are there, budgets are necessary. But if you're truly focusing on the potential and getting every individual on your team to their greatest potential, then you should never have to worry about a budget. That's the goal of the leader. And if you're in leadership and you're not focused on other people, then you're a parasitic leader. And if you're a parasitic leader, then truly you should not be in leadership, because we have to be symbiotic. We have to work with the people that work with us on a daily basis. And we have to continue to fill each other's cups. We have to continue to drive each other towards greater success. That, in essence, is mutualistic, symbiotic leadership. I want to touch on one other thing today, and I made my notes, so as I look down, pardon me, I want to make sure that we're touching on everything necessary today. Okay, as we go through this, risk. We talked about risk, but I want us to remember risk. I've created an acronym, and we're going to go through it here in just a second. But this risk, that's a risk that, again, we all have to take when building a team, because you have to have vulnerability. Said it before, say it again. People don't care how much you know until they truly know how much you care. So let's break it down and let's figure out how it is that we can help people know that we care. And we're going to do it by using risk as an acronym. All right, starting off. R. R is going to stand for relate and respect. Relate, respect. You have got to relate with your people. As a leader, you have got to relate to your people, and they have got to relate to you. And with that comes respect. It comes back to this. Helping people find their why. Breaking down what it is that they're truly looking for in life. Relate, respect. Return on relationship. But then this piece. The Dream Manager. Matthew Kelly wrote a book called The Dream Manager. And it's a great book. It's not a difficult read. It goes by real fast. Matthew wrote a phenomenal book. I think it's amazing, because for me it touches on everything that I preach, to be quite honest. I do truly believe that there is a place within every organization for somebody like a dream manager. And I'm going to jump back for a second. I'm going to correlate this back over to life and pertaining to life within the biotic. So the responsibility of the dream manager, and we're going to switch colors here too. All right. The responsibility of the dream manager is to work with every individual employee and come up with their personal goals. What are your personal goals? And then holding those people accountable to these personal goals. Because if you set somebody up in a way in which they know they will benefit and hit their personal goals, they're going to work harder. And I go back to a story, and I won't use her name because I don't have her permission, although I'm sure she won't mind. I'm going to reach out to you soon if you're watching this. I was working with a young lady 15 years ago. I think it's been 15 years. It was 2008. It was right after the credit crisis, 2008, 2009. And I had just taken over a team at Ashford University. And we were in the middle of the for-profit era for schools, and we were doing a lot of online education. We had just made we were about to make a switch where, as opposed to being paid based on how many students you enrolled and how many students you retained, you were just going to be paid a flat salary. That switch was kind of like you used to earn a commission. That was going to change over to just salary basically then, but it was commission and post. So we knew that we had time to lock people in at the highest rate. And I had this one young lady that I was working with, who was on my team, was having, she was taking care of her mother, financially needed to make sure that they were set. She was taking care of both of them. And we reverse engineered what her goals were, how many students she needed to enroll, what her retention rate of those students needed to be. We reverse engineered it so that we could make sure that she was making the amount of money that she needed to in order to afford for her and her mother to be okay for a long time. Not just for the next 6 months, not just for the next year, knowing that prices would continue to go up because we were in San Diego at the time, but making sure that they would be set for a while. That is finding personal goals. That is saying, what is your dream? Help me find your dream. You need a house. You want to take care of your mom. You want to make sure that the bills are paid, car, all that. Great. What does that cost? How do we get there? Boom. Personal goals. Hold them accountable to that and continue to check up and make sure that they're getting to where they need to be budgetarily to hit these and respect your people. There you go. All right. Now here's what's important about this. You got to invest. You got to invest. What does this mean? This means tools, resources, trainings, all of the things that your people's systems, everything that your people will need to be successful, you need to make sure that you're providing for them. So, once you've built this relationship, you've got to provide a means for them to get to their goals. So, invest. Provide the tools, provide the resources, provide the training, provide the systems. Provide what they need in order to get to where it is that they want to be. Otherwise, what happens is, this doesn't matter. So, once you've invested in your folks, the next step we're going through there, S. And this, success. If you have built this and you're truly able to hold your people accountable, right, to what it is that they want, which at the end of the day, the whole goal is to watch them become successful. For those of us who have been in leadership for a long time, we know that typically the people that we are helping, the people that we are responsible for, traditionally they have a tendency to make more money than we do as leaders quite often because we're pushing them as hard as we can to get to where they need to be. It happens that way sometimes, all right, when you're working in especially in corporate America. Now, if we're getting them to their success, then our cup is filled. Awesome. So, we've built the relationship. We've invested in the people to make sure that they can become successful. And so what do we do here? We monitor. We improve. And come up with new ways to improve. We provide them those resources. I'm going to run out of room here in a second. I didn't space this out right. I made this too big over here. I thought it was flashy. And then we're going to repeat. Right? Once we find success, we're going to continue to monitor that success. We're going to find bottlenecks. We're going to figure out what we can do in order to help them continue to get even better. Because at the end of the day, it's all about continually becoming better, both as leaders and as folks who are not leaders. Folks who just want to work. Either way you look at it, who cares? It's all about everybody becoming better together through this mutualistic, symbiotic leadership style. It's about relationships. We're all getting to where we want to be, whether it's in our personal life or whether it's at work. But in order to get here, you got to make sure you're feeding the family and taking care of the bills. So we make sure that we've provided success. Now that we've provided success, we monitor that success. We provide the improvements. We help find backtrack. We monitor the success. We then help them as leaders. We do not provide solutions. We help people find the solutions themselves, right? You just give a man a fish, they ain't gonna learn. Give a woman a fish, they ain't gonna learn. You gotta teach, not give. Help people figure it out themselves, not give. So we help them find the improvements that need to be made. We then provide them with the resources that they need in order to continue to become more successful. And then we repeat one-on-ones every week, every month, whatever it is that you and your folks come together and figure out works best for you. But then finally, the K. And this is easy. Knowledge. If that even made it all the way down. Knowledge. Train, train, train. Feed your people. Do it well. Train them repeatedly so that they are always armed with all of the resources that they need, with all of the knowledge that they might need. Prepare them for battle every day. That's our job as leaders, is to prepare them for whatever it is that they may encounter once they get out there. All right. Mutualistic symbiotic leadership. MSL. Working with folks in order to create a cyclical relationship in which one feeds the other. And with that comes a little bit of risk, because oftentimes we have to be vulnerable in order to get to that point to create truly successful teams. Risk, relate and respect, invest, continue to build knowledge. I would love for you all to continue to follow. Go to YouTube, like, subscribe. We'll be here every Monday morning. Continue to check in with us. If you have any questions, please reach out. My name is Roger Barbieri. I am one of the owners and partners over at Sunwest Real Estate Advisors here in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built teams of 80 plus that have made over $100 million in revenue of sales annually. So if you have any questions, give me a shout. Be safe. Be blessed. Take care.